Hi everybody, this is Bill. How's it going? I wanted to show you and share with you a couple different things about the XT22 and answer the commonly asked question, can I buy an XT22 upper and stick it on my 45, and show you why you actually probably won't be able to do that unless you have a mill. And this is probably the reason that Rock Island doesn't sell it. They only sell it as a combo kit, or will in the future here. I have yet to see one in a combo kit, so I don't know if they're even out there or not, but I have an XT22, I have a couple other 1911s laying around, and I wanted to show you sort of what I did. Now, don't take my word as law, and this is a project that I'm going to show you. I will throw up some links on my website. This is kind of my don't try this at home kind of tutorial stuff. Well, actually, I take that back. It is not a tutorial. But this is my XT22 that I've been working with, that I also have a 45 slide for, that I got to work. So again, this is not a tutorial. It's not a, hey, Bill said go try this, or this works or that doesn't work. But I just wanted to share with you some of my experiences with it, and please bear with me for a moment while I get my iPhone here. I'll kind of make it stay still for 5 seconds. But I have probably what's the ugliest XT22 on the planet, because it's like half Parkerized, it's half Duracoated. It's kind of an under construction gun, but this is indeed an XT22 from Rock Island. It's got a really great design. From the factory, it even had a really decent trigger on it. It functions really great. It loves mini-mags, it likes Blazer, anything that's like high velocity. One of the things I really like about it, over some of the other 22 long rifle 1911 style guys I've had, is the fact that it has the sight on the front barrel, and being that the barrel stays relatively in the same place, and even if it doesn't, obviously the sight moves with it. It's a floating kind of pinned in place barrel system. It tends to lead to pretty darn good accuracy, and I'm very, very happy with it. Obviously I have a Dawson front sight on it, fiber optic, because I have that on pretty much everything I have. But it's a fantastic functioning gun, and it works really well. So I'm going to get under the hood here just a little bit. I'm going to pull the slide off here, and I want to show you kind of what makes this gun special. First off, it has its own extractor and ejector built onto the inside here. I want to show you that this is the key right here. This little milled out lug, this locking lug, never comes unlocked. That's what's going to make the difference between this and like a 45, for instance, where it's going to swing by a link. It's linkless. So this will get pinned into the frame by the slide stop, and the rest of the weapon will blow back and return to battery. Now you can see it's kind of jumping all over the place because it rides on the frame rails and it pins in through the bottom of the barrel, which leads to pretty good accuracy in my opinion. It's also heavy. I mean, this thing weighs it's heavy. It might even be heavier than a 45 slide. I'm not sure. But it looks, feels, and trains much like the typical 45, which is pretty nice. Like I said, the key is going to be in this little fella right here. This is why you can't just take this gun and slide it onto a regular frame. I showed you that graphic on my website there that will actually further explain that this is actually milled down into the frame, and I'll show you that right now. If you take a look down into the frame on the XT's frame, and I hope you can see this, but that square is actually milled down into the frame of this the XT22, which allows it to fit perfectly down into the frame. A regular 45's frame isn't milled that low, and in fact it's milled rounded. This is actually milled to perfectly fit and made up with that bottom, I'm just going to call it a lug, but that bottom foot there is made to perfectly fit down in there, so that when you slide this back, that slide stop is perfect. It holds it dead center. In fact, I don't know if they mill it for it or if they drill it after the fact. I don't know how they do it, but it's very, very, very precise. So for all intents and purposes, the rest of this weapon is a 45. Right here, this is essentially a 45. with the exception of how this part of the frame is actually milled on it. All the parts internally are a 45. It's mine. Obviously, I put an ambidextrous safety and everything on it. It's got a 45's ejector. But if you go to slide a regular 45 slide onto this gun, bam, it's going to stop right there. It will not go back any farther than that. It's not the ejector, as you would see if you had a 9mm, but it's that part of the frame where it's milled out a little bit differently. Now I can show you, this is a 9mm slide right here, and this is why you can't even take like a Kimber kit or whatever and stick it on your 45. When you slide this back, this is a 9mm, the ejector is going to hit the back of the slide and will not fit into the back of the slide. If I simply pull the barrel out of this gun, bear with me for just 1 second. This thing is real dirty. I shot it a lot this weekend. But if I even just try to take my 9mm barrel, which for all intents and purposes is the approximately the same dimensions as a typical 45 barrel, this might be a better illustration of why you can't just fit this barrel, again 9mm, in this gun. It doesn't fit. It does not fit. So the barrel itself is actually wider than the opening that you have. So I'm not going to get into the nuts and bolts of how I made that happen, but you can see that that is wider, and it's also a different shape. So that's why there's not going to be a conversion kit in my mind. Now, like I said, I have one, or I didn't buy it as a conversion kit, but I made one, and this one here, the only way that I can do this is by taking an XT22 frame, and this gun shoots great. And this is actually a Rock Island slide. It's just obviously doesn't have the roll marks on it or anything. This gun right here will fire 45s just fine. In fact, it shoots, 1.5-inch groups, probably at maybe like 20 yards. So it shoots just as good a groups with 45 as it does with the 22. So that was one thing that ended up being pretty cool in this little project. I have figured out how to take an XT22 frame and convert it to a 45, but I don't have a mill myself here that I can use to make a 45 frame except this with the type of precision that Rock Island sells it with. So I've never personally gotten my hands on one of the 45-22 combos, but I assume that they are fit for both barrels precisely at the factory so that you can just simply switch slides. I just wanted to take a few minutes and show you that because it's one of those questions that comes up pretty commonly. Can I take and buy one of these and stick it on my 45? And the short answer is you really can't. Not only does Rock Island not sell them, but you would have to mill it to fit this perfectly in the bottom of your frame, and unless you have a mill or, I don't know, some kind of magic wand or something, you're not going to get this to fit in there, because it's simply, the shape has to be perfect so that it free floats and it stays pinned against the back of the frame and the bottom of the frame. And I don't know where I was going with that, but either way, this has to be milled perfectly in there to get that to work. So I just wanted to submit this, show you guys sort of the deal with it. But I have a frame that will accept both based on some stuff that I've done. But again, I would not try this at home. This is not for, this is not a tutorial or anything like that. And in fact, that's probably a pretty dangerous thing to do, so you probably aren't going to want to do that. But I simply switch slides, and at that point, I'm able to just switch magazines and keep on going, because this thing, the feed ramp and everything is cut just like a 45's right out of the box. But like I said, this is an XT's frame. I only know how to take the XT and make it fire 45's, not the other way around, because it's because of the process involved. So I'm not going to go into the whole, like, hey, this is how you do it and all that kind of stuff, because I really don't want to get into that sort of a thing. But I did want to answer that question and give you some info as to why or why you can't do that. And again, on my site I have like a little picture, and it actually just shows you, you know, right here, this is a 38 Supers frame, but it's essentially the same as a 45s frame. It's that this particular shape is not milled out of that type of frame. So there you go, and hope you guys have a good one. Enjoy.